Welcome to the Industrial Talk Podcast with Scott MacKenzie. Scott is a passionate industry professional dedicated to transferring cutting-edge, industry-focused innovations and trends while highlighting the men and women who keep the world moving. So put on your hard hat, grab your work boots, and let's go.
All right, once again, welcome to Industrial Talk, the #1 industrial-related podcast in the universe that celebrates you, right there. Industry professionals all around the world. You are bold, you are brave, you dare greatly, you innovate, you collaborate, you solve problems. That's why we, here at Industrial Talk, celebrate you. We thank you very much for your continued support of this, because you are you're the heroes in this story, absolutely. We are broadcasting once again from PowerGen. Dallas, Texas is the location, and it is a collection of problem solvers. It's a collection of solutions. And if there is a topic of conversation that has to happen that is way above my pay grade, it is anything that's dealing with power generation and demand for power generation as we continue to go forward in this brave new world. We have a great time interviewing. He's in the hot seat. Thomas or Tom, right?
Tom's fine.
Tom's good, right?
Yep.
Poteet. He is the Senior VP Corporate Development, Mesa Solutions. Let's get cracking. Yeah. Having a good conference?
Yeah, really good. We're getting a lot of traffic in the booth, and see a lot of old friends at this conference. So.
It is weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like, I know you want to. You want new people, but it's always great to sort of circle up and find your friends.
Especially the people who had somewhat of a mentoring role to me, over the last 10 or 15 years that really helped me understand certain aspects of the business or certain aspects of sales and equipment and things like that. It's really good to see them and have another opportunity to say, hey, thanks for back then.
How long have you been in the business?
So,
hold on. Why don't I just go right to the cut to the chase? Give us a little background, and then I can ask the question instead of just jumping forward and just saying how long you've been in it. Give us background there, Tom.
So I'll go ahead and answer that question. Our company had our 10-year anniversary last spring, so coming up on 11 years, and we make generators that run off natural gas, and our bread and butter most of these years has been production oil and gas sites that produce their own natural gas out of the ground, and we have a special architecture in our generator that'll run prime power on unrefined gas. And so we've enjoyed quite a bit of success in that area. All those sites have a lot of electric load, electric motors and pumps and things like that need power. And I like to think that I tell people that our success is because in that was we had a very clever innovation in a market that already existed. There were already people taking generators like diesel generators out to well sites.
They're here.
Yeah, but you think about that process. If you get oil out of the ground, send it to a refinery, turn it into diesel, and then truck it back to the wellhead. Not
a good model. It
doesn't make a lot of sense when you can take gas right out of the ground and make electricity right there. So we also our devices will also run on propane, and our fuel system will switch from, if you have both present, it'll switch from one to the other without dropping the load, and that's an innovation that has distinguished us a little bit amongst other people who can also run off natural gas or propane, but we really made a big distinction in that ability to switch from one fuel to the other without dropping the load. So,
why would I want to do that? Is it just
so you think about imagine how many relays and computerized equipment there is at any industrial site, and the least little drop in power
you don't like it
is going to either damage at a minimum reset everything, but at worst damage things. So you don't want to drop the supply if you don't have to.
Yeah, nobody likes that.
No,
those components hate it. But why would I need, if I'm pulling natural gas, if that's the fuel that I'm using at that particular remote site, and I'm pulling natural gas, but then I decide that I want to slap a propane tank in that area, what was the business reason behind that?
So that's one of my favorite questions to get. So
there you go. Because I was like, I don't know.
Yeah. So it's not a secret sauce, but the sauce of our engine is that it runs on a really wide BTU range of fuel, 700 BTU up to 2,500.
Yeah.
What you have in your house, for example, is probably 1,000 BTU.
Right, natural gas.
And what we generally experience coming out of right out of a well is about 800 to 1,200 BTU. So if you want to run reliably on that and keep your generator at a very steady 60 hertz voltage output, your engine has to respond instantaneously to changes in the BTU content of the fuel. And every well is different, and each individual well over time can vary and can sometimes vary rapidly. Our control system reads the chemistry composition in each engine cylinder so rapidly that if you had a big slug of some really high thing like butane or some really high number fuel come through, it might go so far as to just turn off a cylinder for a few cycles so that it doesn't experience a large a damaging explosion in that cylinder.
Yeah.
So I assume you're kind of an engine guy, or you wouldn't be talking industrial
it's so funny
talk.
Because what's fascinating to me is when I knew that there's a fuel quality that warrants that particular decision. You can you can manage the propane. You can say, okay, that's consistent in that tank. That's not going to vary. But that stuff coming out of the ground definitely has some questions.
And so the reason you might have both out there is, suppose you need to run the generator before there's actually gas available at the site, or if the site operator knows that the gas quality or just the gas volume at a particular location varies a lot, and if they want to make sure they don't have a power shutdown, then for reliability purposes they'll go ahead and have some propane standing by. And so I won't use the term dual fuel because that means something else in the industry, but we have two places for fuel to come in, one for natural gas and one for propane.
And honestly, again, that's way above my pay grade. I can only imagine the engineering that goes into those particular units to be able to handle a dual fuel. I hate to, don't email me. Just it's the only way I can to be able to seamlessly handle natural gas versus propane and not have any interruption.
And that, getting good at that has really led us into other industrial and commercial applications. And I'll burden you with one of the things I say most often.
Burden.
If you haven't heard it already, but anybody who's been at a large company who had to prepare a specification to order or buy generators, you can have a document that thick with about every standard quoted, but in the oil field, there's only one spec, and that is your thing running right now or not? Because if it's not, we need you to come move it so that your competitor can have that spot. So that drives you spirally to very high reliability, very high levels of service. And, it's a complex device. If we didn't have our own highly trained technicians involved, it would be a different story. Because,
you're doing services?
Yeah. So as time has gone by, most of our business right now has been around units on lease with our own technicians doing the maintenance, and it's all included. But as we've been able to mature this device, still using the prime power architecture, but we've put it into other form factors that make it more suitable for commercial or industrial sites. We have form factors where you can put them closer together, and it'd look fine in the parking lot of a big box store if they want to have backup. Or we have a lot of our units now that are in use in places in utilities that have retail markets, where if you want to put your generator and roll it in a demand response program from that utility, they'll come on, they'll connect to the grid.
In essence, you're on the demand side. You're on that demand side of the meter where you're providing those solutions to the marketplace.
Yes, sir. And and another thing that's come along is now we're getting into the data center world and utilities. And yeah, it's huge. And there's, even if the hype for how much power data centers are going to need is off by 50%, it's still a lot of power. And
it's not. That train has left the station, and it is rolling down the track, and it is only getting greater and greater, not just from say North America, but globally.
Yeah.
Everybody's. I think the continent of Australia will be just one big data farm because they have a lot of land, and it's just like, make it a data farm.
Yep. And there's a lot of energy, natural resources there as well.
Yeah.
So an interesting thing.
Wow.
Our generators that we make are not the largest you can get, but they parallel together very easily. So just like you think of a data center, it's not one big mainframe computer. It's thousands of basically rack-mounted PCs.
Yeah.
And
little servers.
Yeah. The reason they do it that way is because it's very easy to upgrade or repair an individual unit without affecting any of the rest of the operation. The same thing is true of large arrays of batteries. Are all based on these little foil battery packets that are about the size of a freeze-dried backpacking meal. Thousands of those things, and that's the same reliability ensues from that. And so when we put many of our medium-sized generators out at one site, parallel them all together, you enjoy that same sort of inherent resilience. The actual correct term is swarm resilience, and it's
so in that scenario, you're saying, okay, I got a package here, a package here, a package here. I'm putting them in parallel, and can I lose one and still maintain some sort of generation capability? So it's sort of like the LED lights of the world. So together you can lose one and it doesn't do anything.
Yeah,
you still are bright and shiny.
It'd be like losing one pixel on a TV screen.
There you go.
And while that pixel's out, we can go in and repair it and not affect the rest of the screen. So what's the largest unit you have out there? The largest unit that we have now, depending on how you rate them, whether it's a standby rating or prime power, is between 400 and 500 kW. But we're paralleling those into multiple megawatts. Where we've 10 and 20 megawatts at a time is nothing for us now, and we've got proposals that would involve hundreds of generators.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this: Are you vertically integrated? I mean, you probably buy the engines from someplace, but you manufacture, you pull it all together, and you put your whatever solution and all of the stuff inside.
Our headquarters now is in Loveland, Colorado. Historically, our manufacturing centers has been in Casper, Wyoming. And just within the last few months, we opened up a new 200,000 square foot assembly center in San Antonio. And last week, we just broke ground on another one just like that size up in Casper. So we're really building a lot of manufacturing and assembly capacity. We get the long engine block from a supplier, and then we do what's called dressing out the engine, where we put the engine control module, which is a computer about the size of a Raspberry Pi computer, and we put that on there. We put the fuel system, we get the EPA rating, and then we either market the engine itself or we put them into our units.
Are they all local, or are you an international sort of supply chain and bringing the engines?
The long blocks come from Doosan Corporation. That's HDI, Hyundai Doosan now in South Korea.
Yeah.
So those come straight to us. We used to get those through a third party, but they came to us about 2 years ago and said, hey, we've got some upgrades coming to these engine blocks. They're going to be able to get more power out of it for basically the same engine block, and we want you guys to be the ones to finish them out and market them and utilize them.
Where do you see it going? I mean, you've got to admit this market today, compared to the conversations I was having last year here, has changed.
Yep.
And there's a speed, a velocity that exists within the power markets. Where do you see it?
Yeah. So interestingly, that for us, the really big new thing is just yesterday here at the show, we announced a relationship with a company called Modern Hydrogen. And the company that makes our engines has recently developed an engine that runs on 100% hydrogen. So we're going to take that engine and craft a generator around it. And Modern Hydrogen they have a process that you put on site. You can put natural gas in it, and solid carbon falls out of a pyrolytic process.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it has to be that.
Yeah, it's pyrolysis. Solid carbon falls out, hydrogen comes out one end, and interestingly, the solid carbon actually has a direct use in the asphalt market, but they can, wherever you have natural gas, in a couple of years, we'll be able to park their device next to our device and run off off their pure hydrogen.
You'll have tray fuel. Propane, hydrogen, and natural gas.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah.
And then you're going to challenge your engineers to be able to. All right. Yeah. Here's another fuel. Here's another input.
Yeah. A lot of the data center folks that we're talking to, some only care about what's the cost of electricity going to be. Some of them are really concerned. They want certain percentage, maybe half or something like that, if they can reach that, to have half of their power come from something either renewable or decarbonized.
Right.
So they might put as many of our generators out as they need out there for their full load, but then they've also got a really large array of solar panels and by capacity rating an even larger array of batteries to use that as much as they can. Obviously the problem with that is it's not dispatchable. So in the future, where I think the future could go with the hydrogen aspect is you could have carbon-free dispatchable power for the whole thing. So
I heard that the hydrogen, let's just put it this way, hydrogen, it's great. It makes sense. There it is. I get it. I understand. It's not as easy to be able to sort of spit that hydrogen out.
Yeah. The less you have to handle it, the better off you are. And so it's going to be a whole new learning process for us, of how to handle that fuel. But looking forward to it. Looking forward to getting our engineers involved in it.
Are they all amped up as a result of that?
I think so.
They should be. Tom, how do they get a hold of you?
Just look up Thomas Poteet on LinkedIn, the Thomas Poteet that works for Mesa Solutions.
There it is. There's other Thomases there?
Yeah, there might be.
That's pretty nice. What nationality is Poteet?
French, Italian. I've heard several stories.
Well done. You didn't improve my position at all. You just sort of punted on that one.
Yeah.
You were absolutely wonderful. Thank you, Tom. Appreciate it.
Enjoyed it.
All right, we're going to have all the contact information for Tom out on Industrial Talk. Fear not, reach out to him. They're doing some great stuff at Mesa Solutions. I highly recommend that. If you're in the power industry, have conversations with Sherpas like Tom to help you along with that journey. All right, we're broadcasting from PowerGen here in Dallas, Texas. And again, if you're in the power generation business or you need power generation, this is the show for you. So check it out next year. If you're not here, make sure that it's on your to-do list for next year. All right, we're going to wrap it up on the other side. Stay tuned. We will be right back.
You're listening to the Industrial Talk Podcast Network.
There he is. There's his stat card. Tom Poteet, right there. Mesa Natural Gas Solutions. That was PowerGen. Yes, that was PowerGen. And what is just so fascinating about this market is that you get companies like Mesa Natural Gas Solutions coming up with real solutions to address this increased demand for power. It's happening, and they're doing it the right way. They're fantastic. You got to contact them. All the contact information will be out on Industrial Talk, so reach out to Tom. You will not be disappointed. Industrial Talk, again, is here for you. We are a full-service marketing and media company for you to get your message out. I believe in this world today that it's attention that will help you solve a lot of problems. Been there, done that? So look us. Go out to industrialtalk.com. Be bold, be brave, dare greatly. Hang out with Tom. Change the world. We're going to have another great conversation shortly, so stay tuned.